Good morning and welcome to my podcast. I'm Bob Pace. I'm your host on the podcast called Fight CPS with Bob Pace. Also, we're here to hang on to our children or get our children back. It's a warm welcome, and I'm glad to see all of you come and join my podcast. You found me via Facebook, How to Fight CPS. I'm broadcasting live on YouTube using the StreamYard application. So, the word CPS to me means the Children Protection System. Every state has their own, every county, they have different names. But when I say CPS, I mean the Child Protection System. It's a branch of social services that's in charge of protecting our children from neglect and abuse, and also to break the family apart to do reunification because it's been proven that the best parents are the biological parents. So I encourage you all to listen, take notes. I'm not a lawyer. I'm a family man with 6 children. I've been married 31 years. I've fought CPS for 15 years. My children were trafficking into foster care, kidnapped. Um, they were taken out of their home. They weren't even in their home when they were taken. They're taken from school. They weren't in immediate danger. You're going to find that the child protection system is corrupt. It is not transparent. They lie, they retaliate, and they hurt you as parents really bad. And part of the problem is the way that they're driven. They're driven forces money. Money is what drives them. Money is what drives them. So it's very important that you listen to what I have to say. I will tell you things that I did wrong during my case. I wish I had known. And also, um, I have ideas that may help you in your case. We also have people that come into my room um, to talk about the CPS case. Now, I'm going to make sure my phone is set so it's on. So I'm not taking phone calls at the moment. But I want to make sure it's connected to where I'm at, the Wi-Fi. Okay. All right. Let me see here. Okay. Um, okay. I'm trying to get hold of my regulars in this room. Make sure they come in here because sometimes don't hear the notifications. First one we get a hold is Faye in Richmond, Kentucky, and hopefully she will join me. She's a single mom trying to get custody of her 23-year-old son with special needs. Then there's Danielle, who is from Georgia, and she has a similar situation. Her son's 18, but the CPS will not let him go, even though he's an adult. He has special needs, and she's trying to get custody. She used to be my co-host, but her computer's been not doing too well. And then there is Nadia from West Hollywood, a single parent too, and she's been instrumental in helping the room. Okay, so I've notified the regulars in this room. Now, what I'd like to tell you is how to interact with this room. Um, First of all, just by being in the room is one of four ways you interact with this podcast. You can listen, you can take notes, and hopefully there's things that are talked about by other people, myself, are helping you. Now, if you would like to ask a comment or question or make a comment about CPS, it's very important that you pertain to the child protection system. There's a lot of topics out there that we could talk about, and we have to be careful not to get too carried away because one is the focus on the child protection system. I want to tell you how bad it is, what to do and not to do, and what to watch out for in the pitfalls, such as opening your door, such as talking to police, such as giving away your children, all kinds of things that you may not have thought of or whatever. You're in you're like fighting an enemy. You have to learn about this enemy, and this enemy is evil. They're controlled by money. It's $1 trillion business that the child protection system is involved in. Trillion dollar business. Not billions, not millions, but trillions. Now, when you text in a comment or a question, please show your name, your city, your state, or if you happen to be from a country, please show your country. That's right. We do have countries that text CPS questions. My podcast, since Facebook is international, people from other countries are finding this podcast. They want to see what it's about. Also, they have issues in their own country, and they try to learn and try to see if helping them. So I'm really happy to have the people from other countries that may have domestic, excuse me, that may have CPS problems. And there's about 13 countries. I have Bangladesh that has text in. I've had New Delhi, India that's text in. I've had Africa, several countries in Africa. I've had South Africa, one of the provinces of South Africa had text in. Then in Mozambique on the east coast of Africa, across from Madagascar, the island off the coast, has text in. Rwanda, who is near Lake Victoria in Central East Africa, they have come in. In fact, that country went through a lot in 1994. It had 1 million people killed and over 500,000 females raped. And but they have regrouped. But that's not too long ago. If you think about it, that's 10 years ago, 1994 to 2014, or 20 years ago. Wow, time is flying. And then you go up to northern Africa on the coast there, the west coast, and there's a country called Liberia, and they have vaccine. A guy named Archie has several times come in and talked about his country and their problems and so forth. He's a scout leader involved very much in scouts. He's proud to work with boys and girls in the scouting program, and so he's a scouter, a scout leader. Then we move up to Europe, and we've had England, Scotland, Wales, the United Kingdom have called in about their issues, and then we've had um, Denmark and Sweden too. And so, with that being said, we go across the pond to North America, and we've had Canada, both coasts have text in, and then all the 50 states have. And on top of that, we've had um, um, the Washington D.C. has been one of the people that have texted in, and so I've spoken to all the states over 500 some people I've spoken to, and 99% of them say that CPS is corrupt in their county, in their state, and they have a very difficult time understanding or taking advantage of. It seems like we, have something in common. We're usually struggling with a crisis in our life, like in my case, in the year 2000, I'd lost my job through no fault of my own. And I started having a false accusations come in from a layperson who happened to be my wife's family. They too were uh, trying to take our children away from us, and they were really fond of us. But we've all had similar issues there. Now we go further south to Mexico. I've had a father who called actually instead of texting about trying to find his daughters in Louisiana. And then we go across down to South America to Guyana. And it's above Brazil, east of Venezuela. It's on the coast. And they have a coastal town called Georgetown. They too have called in. We've been uh, and so Grenada has. And then across the Pacific to the land down under, we've had Australia. So those are the countries that have expressed interest or have concerns and so forth. So they add another flavor to the podcast, the interacting. So let's say, oh, one thing about comments, please try to be complete with your comments. It's very important you tell me what your family is. Meaning, what is your family perceived? Is it a mother, father, like a husband, um, wife, or is it a girlfriend, boyfriend? Is it lovers? Is it a partnership? And then, how are the children? Are you have four children, three children, two children? Are the children girls? Are they boys? Are the young ones, old ones? And then are the parents, the biological parents, still involved with the children? Do they have different fathers or different mothers? Are you a single parent? Anyway, if you could tell me, what your family arrangement is, it helps me better understand. Further, you want to put down the allegations. Was it abuse? Was it neglect? Or was it both? And the details about what the allegations were. And then how were the children taken? Did you give them up? Did you let them come into your home? Did you talk to them? Did you go to their office and surrender the children? Did they take the children? Did they have a warrant to take the children? Was there domestic violence going on? Did they try to break in because you guys were arguing, or was a child being thrown around or hurt? Was there a dangerous weapon, a gun or a knife or something there? So, I'd like to know how they got a hold of your children. Did they take them right away? Were they not in imminent danger, or were they in imminent danger? And then after that, I'd like to know where you at on your case. Are you at the beginning of your case, the middle of your case, the end of your case, and then I can help you. So if you tell me those things ahead of time, we won't play ping pong ball where we have to go back and forth. I ask you a question, you answer. I ask another question, you answer. I ask a question, you answer. So to avoid that, try to be complete with your case. So that's the second way of doing the podcast. I want to welcome Lori Hiller. She now has been coming on the show on a regular basis, and she always puts a name in the comment section. Today, her name is William Mullins, and welcome, Lori. And I still don't know where you're from, but welcome. And and I guess William Mullins may be one of your children. I don't know. Um, so that's the second way is typing in comments. A third way is to be a guest on my podcast. Uh, my podcast is uh, is every day, two times a day. It's on at 10:45 in the morning Pacific Standard Time for an hour, except on Sunday. Yesterday it was on at 8 o'clock. It's always on Sunday at 8 o'clock, a couple hours before 10. And then in the evening it's on at 7 o'clock for an hour Pacific Standard Time. And again, it's Monday through Sunday. So it's 14 shows that I'm on. So all you have to do is pick one of the shows, like a Saturday morning show, a Sunday evening show, a Wednesday evening show, a Monday morning show, and then you can um, then you can uh, put that in an email. It's very important you email Grace, who is our show producer. She works really hard behind the scenes. She will get in touch with you with your email. She will give you the link to StreamYard, which I'm using. That's the application. I'm broadcasting on the YouTube. And then she'll tell you the do's and don'ts, like no food, no smoking, and not to use names of judges or children or social workers like that. Um, uh, so their email is at grace@vincentwdavis.com. Grace at vincentwdavis.com. And she will schedule it. She's very easy to talk to and stuff. And she'll tell you how to be a guest. So that's the third way. Now, um, the fourth way is you can call in using my phone number. I have a business phone number. We use Vonage on our phone. It's live streaming, so it is internet based. And so you can call me at 626-698-0990. And when you call in, you will get my phone during my show hours. If you call before my show hours or after my show hours, I will not take the call. I will leave you a message that you call me between my show hours. I do that. So that's really important that uh, that you call during the show hours. Again, it's 626-698-0990. And again, I like to four ways. One way is just being in here. A second way is to do comments. A third way is to email Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's Grace at vincentwdavis.com. That's the way you can get on the show. And then the fourth way is to call in with the phone number. So my phone is on. I'm live. I'm taking phone calls, and we have so many people in the room. Now, I have lots of things I can talk about. I have lots of tabs opened up about a lot of issues and so forth. And I'm trying to check to see where regular room people are and also messages. Okay. Let me see here. Um, okay. All right. So I'm open to questions. I'm open to set, suggestions. As I say, there's lots of things we can talk about. I can talk about my case. I can talk about who social workers, how to work through their system, and everything like that. I'll give you guys a few moments to uh, go through things. Okay. Um, Let me see here. Where am I? Okay. Um, Seems like we have a dead morning. Sometimes that happens like that. I'm going to be going off early on the show. I mean, I'll quit at 10:45, which is roughly 30 minutes away. So it's very important. I have another um, seminar I'm going to. I'll be leaving at 10:45 all this week. I tried to start early. I started about 10 minutes early, so I'll still try to give you a full hour there. Um, you know, the Child Protection Agency, no matter how much I talk about them, I'm just amazed that every day I hear the same thing. They're very corrupt, they're not transparent. And if you really want to know how bad there is, it's, the story of Alice in Wonderland. She's in her garden and she fell into a rabbit hole. And that's what CPS is. It's like a rabbit hole. You're going to go through a lot of rooms that make no sense. You're going to wonder what is going on and so forth. It's really, it's really sad. It really is. Um, they're hard to navigate. They will disguise things. They'll lead you up one way or do another way. So, uh, a makeup of a social worker, just to give you an idea, there's four examples. One are the pink ladies that are from Prescott, Arizona. Now, in their Arizona, they call their CPS, the Child Protection System, DCS, Department of Children's Services. Well, in Prescott, Arizona, which is a small town, they had the DCS with, I think, 9 people, including the director, be 10 people. Well, 8 of them were women, white women, and they had over 25 years experience. They decided to buy pink t-shirts. And on the front of the t-shirts, they had professional child kidnappers. Now think about that. Professional child kidnappers. That really turns your stomach. And on the back of the t-shirt, they said, "Do you know where your children are at? Do you know where your children are at?" And they wore these t-shirts out in public to Costco, to Walmart, to Target, all the big department stores, Best Buys. They were caught, and the director, along with the 8 women social workers, were fired. There was nothing discussed with them. They were fired. What they did was the wrong message. The parents were outraged. And Prescott did the right thing, but they should have did more to them. They should have prosecuted them because that is a violation of your rights. No one should sit there and say they're professional child kidnappers. So that is your typical social worker out there. Now, I've talked to 2 social workers. One was from Maryland, and she had a clinical psychology degree, and she said she did 6 months of training in Maryland. The other one was a third party social worker that agreed with me on how bad that social workers are. But that's an example of what these professional child kidnappers are. Now, another one was a woman named Crystal Salazar on the show who had an investigation against her because her son was being investigated. Her son was 15 and her daughter was 13. They were accusing her son of doing sexual inappropriations with the daughter. Well, the investigator for the Child Protection Services decided to go out and visit the school and talk to the daughter. Well, they can do that, but there's a rule that you parents must be notified and they should be present on campus while the interview is being taken place, not necessarily in the same room. So the mother wasn't notified, and the guy showed up. He asked the school, "I need to speak to one of your students alone in a classroom." Or not a classroom, but in a room. And imagine the room was with closed windows or whatever it was. And they didn't offer a nurse to go with them or anything else. Well, what he did, and unbeknownst to anybody, he was a pedophile. So he told this 13-year-old girl to take off your clothes so he could take pictures of her. Well, that was gross. And on top of that, you think how demoralizing a 13-year-old that has exposed her naked body to a grown man who's entrusted with the Child Protection Service? Well, she came home and told her mother. And her mother right away called CPS. They investigated, and he was fired. The mother did try to call the police. Police says nothing they could do. I don't know if she contacted the school, but that was disgusting what the school does. That would be a civil suit. That is wrong. And the CPS, all they did is fired him. Well, unbeknownst to CPS, more unbeknownst things, there's another gentleman who's been his childhood friend from a long time ago. And he reversed the CPS case and did a retaliation for his friend. He had the mother accused of molesting her 15-year-old son. And now she's fighting this horrific battle with the Department of Children's system. And it's terrible. But that is your classic example, a pedophile working for the child protection system. I've been told that it's a haven for pedophiles. I've also been told they're not supposed, men are not supposed to take pictures of naked women. And any step, all people should be two people when they interview a child or talk to a child. Because like anything else in scouting, it's always in twos. If you do a trip, it's got to be two parents with the children. It can't be one parent with the children. That's for their protection. That's for safety. And as adult leaders, it should be that way. But I was horrified. This was horrified. So there's an example. You have social workers who think they're professional child kidnappers. Then you have a social worker that's a pedophile. And Christine has been on the show many times, and she's expressed her concerns, and she's fighting this case. Now, a third example, if that's not bad enough for you to swallow, a third example is a social worker in Chicago, Illinois, who decided on her Facebook page to put an ad called Black Children for Sale. It was an original ad from 1848. And it didn't say black children. It used the N word, but we're not supposed to use that. So it's Black Children for Sale, which was a terrible thing to put up on her Facebook in the year 2024. And furthermore, she was black. So why would a black woman in the year 2024 put up an ad from 1848? That's 10 years before the Civil War, 140 years ago, that wants to glorify selling black children. That's what the ad was doing. And that is your thinking of a social worker. We have social workers that think they're professional child kidnappers. We have social workers that are pedophiles. Now we have a social worker that thinks it's right to sell black children, to glorify that. And if you want to know a fourth case, it's my own case. I had a social worker in her early 20s that investigated my case. She was bad. All the time she talked about her Gucci purse. She talked about her BMW car, her eyelashes, her makeup, her accessories, her clothing. Because she was paid bonuses for keeping her children. You see, I was in the Orange County Child Protection Services in California. And they are being paid $20,000 per child from the state to have my child in foster care. This social worker went before the stand, and the social worker was being asked by my attorney, Vincent W. Davis, about domestic violence in the home of my sister's husband and my wife's sisters and my wife's sister's husband, who wanted to adopt our daughter. See, I had 3 children taken. I have 6 children. three older ones that were already grown out of the home, and three younger ones that still live at home. And I had a daughter and two boys. And anyway, my wife's family are the perpetrators. They're the lay people that called in with false accusations. Anyway, her sister was trying to adopt her children. We have beautiful children. They're educated, well behaved, and everything else. And her family for 31 years wanted our children. Well, our three younger children. So it wasn't 31 because the oldest at that time was 15. But they were never supportive of this family. Didn't come to our wedding or anything. So the social worker's on the stand, and Vincent is cross-examining a social worker who's trying to say that um, my wife's sister and husband were beautiful parents. He asked her a question: was there any domestic violence in their household? And she very proudly said, "No, there's no domestic violence. They're beautiful parents." Well, he went to his briefcase. He found a folder about an inch thick, and in it was all these hundreds of police reports of domestic violence. I don't mean 10 or 15, hundreds of severe domestic violence where there was actually physical alterations and everything. And that's where she wanted to put her daughter in that environment. And the social worker lied. She perjured herself on the stand. It's against the law to lie when you're under oath. And she could be sued for that. I have a perfect right for a lawsuit. But with anything law, it costs money. And that's where the biggest problem with the child protection system is that the social workers know you don't have money. And so they do things illegally because they know you can't afford an attorney. I had to sell my home to get my attorney. It was a beautiful home. I took 40 years to get that home. So I had to sell my home. It was sad. It was definitely sad. Mm. Okay, we're about now about 14 minutes away before I have to end the show. And I still have my phone open. It's at 626 698 0990. Now, um, this social worker who lied and was so embarrassed that after the court proceeding told us parents, you're going to never see your daughter again. And she did revenge. And you don't think they do it? She did. And she told her 12-year-old daughter, you know what she said? She said, I want you to emancipate from your parents. You're 12 years old. You can do so in California. That means divorce your mom, your dad, your brothers, your sisters, your uncles, your aunts, your cousins, your grandparents. Then I want you to change your name, which you did, and then seal your birth certificate, like we don't exist as parents, and then be adopted by a foster care. She did all those things at age 12. We never seen her. She's 22 now. Our sons still visit her because we encourage them to, but she does not want to see it. She's 22 now, and it hurts me every day I think about not being with my daughter, not talking or seeing where her life is going. But anyway, um, I my wife and I are really hurt. That's the worst thing that's ever happened to us in my life. So anyway, I I give you another example, a fourth bad example, what a social worker's life is like. What a social worker's like. Uh, Now I have four rules to discuss. These are things I've come up with that I wish I had known when I was doing my case before I hired Mr. Davis. And one of the weakest areas in your case will be to find a lawyer or to have representation. You need representation because the DCS is a very corrupt system. The lawyers are very smart and brilliant, and they hope that parents, the CPS try to pick up parents that don't have a job, they're low in income, maybe not with good education, hard luck in their life. That's who they prey on. Not for the money, but because that body, that the children they have, they can take the children and get the money for the children in when they do trafficking into foster care. Now, you're supposed to be given an attorney, and they hope this child protective service hope that that you do take the court appointed attorney. Why? Well, court appointed attorney are not trained. They're not paid very much money. They're not going to fight for your case. In fact, they're so busy they don't have time to talk to you about your case. They have 30 or more clients, and they're friends of the court. The same goes for the children. They hope that you keep your children with court appointed. A lot of parents don't know all that's going on. They don't realize that the children are getting attorneys. But what happens is when you surrender your kids, or they take your kids, they are appointed attorneys unless you hire one for them. And you and your wife, if you're a married couple, are appointed each a court appointed attorney. If you have three children and two adults, that's five attorneys. Now, If you had to pay them 300 a piece, that's $1,500 an hour, and that's considered cheap right now with attorneys. A lot of attorneys at the $600 mark or $1,000 mark, depending on the attorney. So it's a very expensive burden. And so the child protection system hopes you keep the court appointed attorney. Further, when you have a court appointed attorney, you can't speak to the judge. You can't say your piece. In fact, I was not allowed in the courtroom. It was all orchestrated by our court appointed attorneys. It was disaster. And I'd complained to the managers and upper ups, and I went to the director, and that was a wasted cause. The director of Orange County is so corrupt. Goes in one ear, goes the other ear. His office is the Taj Mahal of India, or like the Emerald City of the Wizard of Oz. That's how nice the place is. So anyway, um, they're hoping that you keep a court. Now you may say, "I want to fire." You can fire your court-appointed attorney, but then you're pro se, meaning you have to represent yourself. Now you may not know the law that well. It's hard to represent yourself because these guys do. Furthermore, all the court appointed attorneys and the social worker attorneys and the judge and the clerk and the bailiffs and everybody else connected with the court are all friends. They all lunch together, they all play golf together. Um, you know, you're not going to get a fair trial in there. I'm trying to tell you, I'm trying to wake up call. So I have a number you can call for a real family juvenile dependency attorney. His name is Vincent Davis. He's the one that produces this podcast, and he he will talk to you for 30 minutes for $60. You do a consultation, which is an excellent way of doing that. So Mr. Davis has extensive background, 35 years in fighting CPS. He's a trial attorney. He's also done civil cases where he's sued in both in state and federal court and won millions of dollars. So he's the real deal. So please talk to him, and and he will spend that good 30 minutes. That $60 well worth your time. So that's rule number one. You need to get a real attorney. Now, I don't mean to have to hire him, but at least talk to him. Um, it's very, um, he'll go over his retainer. He'll work in any state, Northern California. He practices in Southern California. But CPS is like open heart surgery. When you do open heart surgery, you have a professional doctor. We need a professional attorney that knows the law, and that is the law in family dependency with and juvenile law. You need to know that, everything about that. Now, rule number two is you need to have paperwork. You need to keep track of your paperwork. Get yourself a notebook, 8.5 by 11, 3-ring binder. Put some subject tabs in there. One of the most important subject tabs is to put a tab um, regarding incidents. And with your incidents, put the date, the time, the location, the people involved. Next line, describe the incident. The third line, put the outcome of the incident. If you don't know it, you have to fill it in later. Just skip a couple lines and keep doing that. You want to have a tab for your parenting classes, for your programs, for your court paperwork, for information you find about CPS. Anyway, you need to organize a notebook and use highlighters, pink and yellow. and make it work for you, because a year later you'll need to look at it. It's going to take you 3 years. That's all my case was. That's what my case has. Now, rule number 3 is the tough one. That's where you got to say no to social workers and no to police. Don't ever talk to them. If you do, be professional and say yes, no answers. Now, if they come knock at your door, don't answer your door. Don't answer your door to anybody. Too many people have been shot answering the door. You don't know who's at the door, and you don't have to. There's only 3 ways that people can get in your home. One is that you give them permission to enter your home. Two, there's domestic violence going on, and there's fighting and use of weapons like guns and knives, or the child being thrown against the wall. He's in imminent danger. The police and the social will enter. The third way is a court warrant, and that warrant's got to be an official piece of paper with a wet signature from the judge. And by the way, the judge don't work on weekends. It's a Monday through Friday thing. And it's got to be embossed. There's got to be a stamp that you can feel. Furthermore, it's got to say the names of the people that are being accused, and the allegations, and the children's names, and the address of where the investigation is going to take place, the date and time it's going to take place, and what they can do. What they can do. Talk to you, take your children, those kinds of things. Otherwise, don't open the door. If you're outside and you encounter them, the easy way to get away from them is say, look, I need to speak to my attorney before I go much further. Can I have your name? And make sure if it's a policeman, you get their badge number or a business card. And with a social worker, make sure you see their ID, because they will lie about their names. They will lie about their names. So there's that. And then you got to worry about the other thing too. I got to end my show because I got a next podcast. So thank you, Lori, for coming to the room. Thank you for all my listeners. I'll be on again tonight at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Make sure you fight for your kids, and God bless you. And Bob Pace signing off.